Combat Shock, or American Nightmares depending on the version you watch, is a 1984 drama, thriller and horror picture. I will give an outline of the story, then later on talk about a few of the key scenes, so I will try to keep it as spoiler light as I can. It's a difficult movie to talk about without focusing on a few important scenes, so please keep that in mind. Combat Shock is about our lead role going through the absolute toughest of times after returning from the Vietnam War back to a country and life which has forgotten all about him. He's trying to support his family with no job or money, coming across old friends that have hit rock bottom. The landscape he lives in and wanders through is filled with nothing but crime, poverty, addiction and no hope. He is trying to make the best choices for him, his wife and young son. We follow him navigating through the worst day of his life, getting involved with organised crime led by a local slimy street kingpin called Paco, whilst desperately trying to rebuild and dealing with events that trigger flashbacks from his time in Vietnam. He is home, but the war continues whilst battling life and combat shock. The film starts with us following a lone soldier fighting in Vietnam, spliced with some stock footage taken from the time. It comes together very nicely, disguising the obvious budget limitations. We are greeted by a narration from the perspective of our main character, explaining his role in this brutal war. We see him trying to stay low, not be seen whilst we hear distant gunfire, animals and insects making noises in the background. Again, they are doing a great job of working with what they have. The location all seems very authentic. The scorching sun casting a bright ray of light makes everything look so sweaty and dirty. And once that infectious score starts to play as he is being hunted, it really does paint a clear picture of the suspense and horror of war that our main character is going through. The conflict and constant battle he is having with himself, played out beautifully due to the narration, again twinned with some very effective cinematography like the use of slow motion and close-ups, and the great special effects, dismembered bodies of both American troops and Vietnamese locals. It doesn't shy away from painting war in an absolutely horrifying and destructive way for anybody to endure. Let's talk about the production of the film, the director and cast and crew. The director is a man called Giovinazzo. Him being a huge fan of cinema, and it shows throughout Combat Shock his love for film. From the way he sets up a specific shot to how the film is paced and the story is consistent throughout. Like the flashback scenes to both the war and immediate aftermath are done really well and very effective at getting why he's in the situation he is. He was so committed to getting this film made, he partially funded the film from using money from his own wedding. Also, if you listen to the commentary track on the Troma 2-disc DVD, he states how he was committed to making this film a 15-minute short if the budget ran out. The love and passion shows strongly on screen. I think he pulls off a wonderful job. He'd go on to direct a few other things, mainly being TV episodes and other low-budget films, but he did create the Maniac 2 Mr. Robbie short. This is a sequel to the William Lustig classic Maniac. Joe Spinell even came back to play the title role and was really pleased with what had been shot. It's a real shame that it didn't get made to a feature length, as the short itself is really great and definitely takes the Maniac story in an interesting way. The main actor who plays Frankie is his brother Rick Giovinazzo, which is great in my opinion because they obviously have a very strong bond considering they're brothers, so I feel like he gets the very best performance from Rick, and again it shows. He does a solid job at showing a man dealing with his inner demons and also dealing with the ruthless world the character lives in. Rick Giovinazzo went on to do huge things within his career, not as an actor as this is his only acting credit, but when it comes to the music department he has worked on some of the biggest films of all time, especially recently with films like Solo: A Star Wars Story, Inception, The Dark Knight Rises, Step Brothers, and a selection of big franchise movies like The Transformers, The X-Men and Pirates of the Caribbean. The music and special effects in this are all very effective again. The gore and squibs are convincing, and with the music too, which the main theme has a real funky feeling to it, really do make for a great ride. Very impressive for how restricted the production was due to money and also filming every frame guerrilla style. The whole film has a gritty and in ways a very realistic depiction of life and people that have nothing. The apartment he lives in is vile, everything is broken or dirty. The walls are black, smoke damage and mould run right throughout the apartment. Any clothing or fabric material item doesn't look like it's been washed for months. The fridge is empty and the cupboards are dry. This is life after the Vietnam War and the country is in a decline. Scenes like where him and his wife are talking about how he must get a job and his first response is, there are no jobs, shows the hardship he and his family are going through. No luck, no hope. They are trying to support a 1-year-old child and have another one due in 3 months. But with no money in prospects, how can they? And again, throughout the film we get to hear his thoughts, and again it's done very realistically. He is saying to himself, how can she expect me to sort things out? Not my fault things are so messed up. He has fallen into that destructive state of denial, and again there is no hope or light at the end of the tunnel. The unemployment lines are long filled with desperate people, and Frankie is queuing right at the end of it. The scene where he is at the unemployment centre is very interesting, and also very surreal. You can see from his answers how much he wants to fix his life, saying he would take any job but getting shot down because he has no experience, being told he should go back to school to learn a new trade. But his response is, he has a family to provide for now. He needs something that pays right away. Being told there's nothing for him and his only option is welfare, but even then it's not guaranteed as they are making cuts. The only thing he can say is, well, tell me something good then. The reply back is, well, it's only half one. What a bizarre but brutal answer. Life is tough and can throw anything at you, and this film is like worst case scenario. My final opinion on the film is a strange one. I've seen the film twice now, once a few years ago, and I really couldn't get into it. Perhaps I wasn't paying 100% attention to it, and also I think I saw the Troma logo and gave it an unfair look at. It's so easy to paint Troma films under a certain light if you're only familiar with their in-house projects like The Toxic Avenger. You can think, well, it's going to be very silly and light-hearted. But a lot of their catalogue are just films they have picked up and distributed, and this is one of them. And again, hearing from the director, Troma did help a lot to get this movie finished, and they put up the money to get the production completed. There are two versions of the film, Combat Shock, which is the common way to watch the movie, the theatrical cut released by Troma, then American Nightmares, which is the original cut that the director made before Troma stepped in. The differences being about 5 minutes in footage, and some of the existing scenes have been changed in each version, like the opening titles, and a few other scenes throughout. You will want to have a shower once the credits roll. Everyone is a scumbag and so dirty in it. And one very notorious scene of a guy ODing while shooting up heroin, it can be quite hard to sit through. Whilst Frankie is trying to be a good guy and deep down he is, but with everything he has been through, it's that constant internal struggle. You want to root for him, but again, everything is so bleak, so you just don't know how to take it. Take something like the pimp scene. He is trying so hard to have a positive effect on others, which will return lift him up from the dump he is both living in physically and also mentally. The film reminds me of Taxi Driver, visually similar to something like Deadbeat at Dawn, which both have a very realistic depiction of a poor and crime-ridden New York City. And surprisingly, there is a strong David Lynch Eraserhead element to one very particular element, but also in a way the whole feeling of the film as well, with following a man on a day in his life dealing with tragic and traumatizing events that happened to him. Which is funny because in the commentary between Buddy G and Yul Buckgrit, Buddy actually mentions what his two biggest influences were, Taxi Driver and Eraserhead. The last 15 minutes are powerful, and the ending is a real gut punch. You won't be leaving feeling happy at all. A film that is always relevant. I can't recommend this for everybody as it's a tough watch, with some deeply disturbing moments and themes running throughout. Everything is so depressive and heartbreaking. Like I said before, there is no hope within this film. The depiction of poverty and desperation is scary and again, very unsettling. But looking at the film from a film standpoint, then yes, a lot of you should give it a go. The subject matter is brutal, but the film does get the message across very effectively. And the film is really well made, taking into account the budget and everything else that caused disruption behind the scenes. The acting has that very surreal quality to it, and again can be construed as poor performances, but I think it adds to the feeling overall, giving it a strange and uncomfortable element to the film. The director, cast and crew should all be really proud of what they achieved. A shoestring budget film with a really powerful message and meaning which does the job at getting it across to the audience. Let's talk about some of the key releases from the UK and the US. In the US, it's had a few different releases. First up being released on VHS by Prism Entertainment in 1986. Then in 1997, it was then released on VHS by Troma Entertainment using the new Troma Collector's Edition tagline. In 1999, the US saw a DVD released by Troma, using the same cover as the VHS from 1997 and the original theatrical poster art, coupled with some brand new features and presented as digitally mastered. We finally saw in the year 2009 a release that was deserving for the film. Again distributed by Troma and containing 2 discs packed with old and new bonus features. A brand new documentary exploring the continued effect and impact of Combat Shock, featuring well-known directors like William Lustig, Scott Spiegel, John McNaughton, Richard Stanley and more. Also, for the first time ever, we received both the Combat Shock version and the brand new American Nightmares version, which was the original cut before Troma stepped in to help financially and distribution. This edition is beloved by fans and a must-have for any collector. Same for new watchers, I recommend picking this release up. It's still quite common and you can pick it up for a good price. You might be wondering why we have not spoken about a UK release yet. and that's because it was never released in the UK until 2012, when Arrow Video released it on DVD. It never came over here on VHS, Precert, or DVD until Arrow put it out. Sadly, we still have not seen a Blu-ray for them or anyone yet. Now for the Blu-ray release, there is only one to date, and that's from Severin Films in America. Released in a limited collector's edition that contains a scrapbook, soundtrack, plethora of old and new bonus features, slipcover, and an actual frame from the director's work print. This is the ultimate edition, but sadly it's out of print and fetches ridiculous amount of money online. But luckily I've heard that Severin will be re-releasing the film, but as a standalone product, which I'm fine with, as you still get to see the stunning new transfer and the host of new features. So keep an eye for that one. Here we have the 2009 DVD release of Combat Shock by Troma Entertainment. Great cover, using one of the standout scenes from the movie, very iconic. We have a quote up there from Shock Cinema, one of the great cult films of the 1980s. The Troma Masterpiece Collection, Combat Shock, 2-disc uncut 25th anniversary edition. Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hers present a Troma team release. We have the logo at the bottom. This is the spine, Combat Shock, number 4 in the line. Let's take a look at the back. I'll take a high quality image of it and put it up so you can pause to read. But this edition does include 2 versions of the film, Combat Shock, the original theatrical cut, and American Nightmares, the never before seen director's cut. The audio commentary on Combat Shock with director Buddy G and Yul Brynner. I watched about an hour of the film with that commentary track on, and it's a lot of fun. They're obviously very close friends and have a good time with the film. Talk about the history of it, the production of it, their experiences with the film. This too has a ton of different new and old special features. Great new documentary on it, looking at the impact of the film. Some never before seen released short films and music videos. Again, this is a great release. I recommend anyone to pick it up. Let's take a look inside. Oh, and again on the back there's some more quotes up here for the film. Film Journal, Fantasia Film Festival. Quote from director John McNaughton, the director of Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. And another quote at the bottom by Deep Red Magazine. Let's take a look inside. It's a 2-disc film, no booklet, no insert, sadly. We have this one, Combat Shock and American Nightmares, and then disc 2 is the bonus material. I've not watched all the bonus features on it, but from what I have seen and checked out, again, it's a great release. I really want to pick up the Severin Blu-ray release once it gets re-released to check out the new transfer and the new features for that. But again, when I watched this, I watched the theatrical cut, the Combat Shock version, and the quality and audio seemed fine, considering how low budget the film really is. I think Troma did a great job with this. So yes, that's Combat Shock DVD release. Thank you for watching. Hope you all enjoyed the video.